Okay, we're live. Hello and welcome back. This is MC1 Gamer bringing you another unlocking video. So today I have once again on the channel Tom. Tom, say hello, Tom.
Hey everybody, how's it going this evening?
So Tom, if you don't know from my channel, which I'm sure a lot of you do, because I'm sure a lot of people who watch my channel also watch a lot of the other YouTubers. Tom is one of the hosts of Warhammer Weekly, and which is on usually tonight at about 8 o'clock Eastern. Am I correct?
Yep.
But it wasn't on tonight. It's going to be on tomorrow night instead. So tune into that if you haven't already become a fan of that show. It's a great show. And Tom is going to talk to us today about Orcs and Goblins and Chaos Dwarves, about the special characters specifically. But before we get to that, let's find out a little more about Tom also. Tom, you just launched your own YouTube channel.
It's true.
I'm welcome to the crazy, first of all.
Thank you.
I know it's new. First of all, is there a name for the channel?
No, I don't have a name. It's Tom's channel.
Tom. So if somebody looks up Tom's channel.
No, I don't know what I need to do. I added an art piece. I'm hoping that people can find me.
Okay, so what's the name on the channel?
I have no idea. That's a great question. It is so new.
It's your YouTube.
I know. Hey, I was just like, hey, you want to publish this video? I was like, I'm totally in. I'm doing this.
Well, this is what I'm going to do. I will, after the show, in the notes, I will go ahead and put the link for Tom's YouTube channel. This is a great plug. What a plug. I love it. And I encourage you all to go watch, because first of all, your first video and the first conversation that you're having, I think, is, before we get into all the unlocking stuff, I think it's a really good conversation to have, and I'd like to know. Maybe you could tell the viewers a little bit about that, how that conversation is going with people who have been viewing and interacting with you, and then if you could give us a real quick synopsis of the kind of things that you have planned for your channel.
Yeah. So the first video that I did was a response to Doom and Darkness's. He released a video that was called Plastic Crack, and it was dealing with a wargamer's addiction and the profusion of gray miniatures that he has. And so he was lamenting his current circumstances. And I identified with that. For anybody that watches Warhammer Weekly, they regularly hear Vinny jab me about the fact that I have a lot of gray plastic minis, hence the title Lord of the Gray. And so it's funny because, so I originally, just a brief background, so Doom and Darkness did this, and I planned on getting the video out last weekend. But what ended up happening was I recorded it, and it ended I did it in the manner that he did, where he'd showed an army and then kind of walk through the composition. But as opposed to his 40-minute video, it took me 90 minutes to get through everything. And then when I started listening back to it, my mic was terrible, it was cracking, the audio was bad, and then apparently PowerPoint for Mac can't output audio in their movie exporting, because Microsoft is terrible at writing for the Mac OS. So, yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna re-record it. I'm gonna shorten it. So I snip. What I ended up doing was I re-recorded it, knocked it down to 40 minutes, and talked in a lot more general terms rather than the individual composition, and which is good. Obviously nobody wants to listen to me rant that long, but I was really worried about having second thoughts about publishing it, because I was like, I don't know if anybody's gonna be interested.
No, that would have been a crime, man. That would have been awful. You didn't publish that.
And I was like, I don't know if anybody's interested in this. It's gonna come off as bragging, and that's not really what I want to do. That's not my intent. And Vince is like, no, you have to publish this, because this is our intervention. This is the public. We're gonna bring this out into the light so everybody knows it, and then we can intervene and we can stop you from your addiction, Tom. And the irony is that there's been overwhelming support for me since that video was published.
Now, just so everybody who's viewing this, if you haven't seen this video, again, I'm going to link to Tom's mystery channel, because apparently I guess it's his full name, or what's your full name, first of all?
Thomas Lyons.
Okay, so maybe it's under Thomas Lyons, Lyons, I believe. Yeah. And if it's not, well, I'll get the link to you. So I encourage anybody who hasn't already seen this to go and take a look at it. I thought I had a lot of stuff, and I do. I have an 11-foot closet with shelves with boxes and tubs and all kinds of stuff. And a lot of it, I think that space is air because, there's tubs that are filled, but they're stacked and there's a lot of terrain. And I thought I had a lot of stuff, and I certainly have a sea of gray that I'm still working through. I don't have quite the problem you do. I couldn't believe I saw one screen where it was shelf upon shelf upon shelf filled with figures, and that was only one of many.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I do a lot of buying and reselling, and so like you asked about like the future of my channel. So one of the things that I think that I can contribute to the conversation is I'm very active in the secondary market. And so I have a really good feel for what Warhammer miniatures are worth. So if I look at a miniature, I can generally tell you what you're going to be able to sell it for.
We're going to need to do a video on this. If you do any segments, if you have me on the show, I've been doing buying and selling for years, but I started doing toys 25 years ago.
Yep.
So I've been doing that, and it's amazing how the different markets work, but it's amazing that there's an industry for this. I mean, do you do it for your own just to fuel the hobby, or do you do it to make a few bucks?
So here's the deal. I'm a PhD student, and we don't have a real big budget. Like we have 3 kids, we own a house, my wife works full time, and I'm surviving. So we're doing well, like obviously. But so like there's just not a lot of budget for gaming. And so I was super successful when I was playing MMOs on gaming the auction house and making tons of bank. An example of this is when Vince and I played SWTOR, he made a lot of money as well, which is why I mentioned him. Like the average income they reported about 6 months or a year into the game, the average total wealth that people had was like around 300,000 space bucks, like 300,000 space yen or whatever it was called. And at that time, Vince and I were both sitting in the teens of millions, like 17 to 21 million or something like that.
But how does that translate into real dollars?
And that's the point. Is my wife was like, "Why can't you do this in real life?" And so I was like, "Challenge accepted." And so when I was getting interested in Warhammer, my wife said, "Well, hey, if you want to if you want to get into Warhammer, you have to fund your own hobby." And so any money that she said, I'm going to take a hands off, you're not going to get a budget out of our budget, any cash out of our budget, but any money you make is yours in Warhammer or in selling and buying and trading and all that. And so she said, I'm going to keep it hands off. It's do what you want. And tens of thousands of dollars later of buying and reselling. I've been doing this for 18 months. And you can watch that video. And I have in 8th edition terms, I currently have on my shelf 65,000 points of 7 different armies, collectively, approximately. So it's been very successful. So moving forward, one of the things that I want to do is contribute to the conversation of what your miniatures are worth, because the GW ecosystem is a very unique ecosystem, and things actually hold their value, which is very unusual for miniatures. And so I can talk about that in another video, but that's
we should definitely set up another time to speak. I've been doing it for years. I have a room, Ethan's playroom, my son. It's like a shrine to Lego and Marvel superheroes. He's got there are kids that come over, and some of them who are savvy enough go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you have that. That's worth $150." And I'm like, wow, That's awesome. My son doesn't have any clue that, I get shit from Japan and I'll buy 10, give him 1, sell the rest.
Yep, exactly. And so actually that's my next video.
Okay, great. Look forward to it.
Within the next week, I'm going to do a video on, so here's my plug. I'm doing a video on the understanding pricing and understanding what you have and what good prices are buying on the secondary market.
That's great. Looking forward to it. I think that anything that helps the hobbyist, the people who get into this hobby, do more for less or understand the value of what they have is because this is not a cheap hobby, and it has gotten a little more reasonable with Age of Sigmar being a more take what you want and put it on the table and it's a game, as opposed to the minimal investment of previous editions. But even then, it's a time investment. There's a monetary investment. It's not the cheap hobby. So, I mean, even a starter set is not. It's not the kind of thing that a 10-year-old is going to come with their allowance typically.
Yeah.
And blow it. That's a substantial cost. And even for a gift from a parent or a grandparent, that's a pretty good gift. Even just a starter box, even some of these great values in these boxes. So I think that's a good service to the community.
And they're not going to be getting MSRP. Like that's or they're going to be getting it like as a gift. It's coming at MSRP.
Yeah. Here's the free advice before we don't want to. Don't pay MSRP ever. There's ways not to do it. I think that's going to be the main ongoing theme, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah, there's ways to get around that. Okay, well that's good. I look forward to having that conversation with you, but I look forward to seeing your take on it as well. Because
as a final statement, support your game stores. Okay?
Oh no.
So I'm not saying don't support your game stores. Absolutely. Just know what items you need to be supporting them with.
Exactly. I never go into a game store and not buy something, but I know what I'm buying and the value of it versus what I can get somewhere else for substantially cheaper. And there are times I'll still pay, the regular price tag just because I want to support the store. Every once in a while.
Support your stores.
Yeah. Definitely. I agree with that. All right. So let's get to a couple of things. Before we get to that, I just want to let people know I've got a Twitter account. So look me up, MC1 Gamer on Twitter. If you're looking to contribute to the channel, just in terms of adding to the quality and whatnot, it's not a thing where there's going to be any kind of subscription or secondary layer for just those subscribers or donators. Check me out on Patreon and look at Gamer Grunts, both on gamergrunts.com or on the Facebook page. We've got a bunch of games that are going to be happening in the Northeast region starting late this month and going all the way out till May and beyond. And there's some good stuff happening there, not just with Age of Sigmar, but with a lot of different game systems. So check that out. And if, shoot me a line. And of course, anybody is in the local area to me, I'm always looking for games, and I'm always traveling around anywhere, a number of like 4 or 5 different game stores. I got a lot of people that have been contacting me that way, and I've actually got a bunch of games lined up as results, but I love to meet viewers. And one last thing before we get into this, I have a series that is called the Boogeyman Abilities and Mechanics for Age of Sigmar. And I know that you've commented on this as well, Tom. I'd love to get your take on it. I'd like to see a video that you could put out to contribute to this, being that you're now in the mix, man. You're not just a co-host to a show. You've got your own channel, so it's your own content. I'd like to see your take on it because I like your analytical mind. I've had you on the show many times for a number of unlockings. So I'd love to hear your viewpoint on a number of issues or what you think are some of these boogeyman abilities. The main crux of this video, so anybody look at my channel, anybody who's viewing and you haven't seen it, a couple videos back, it was mainly to try and dispel some of the stigmas around things like shooting and summoning. There's so much comp out there. And if you like comp, that's great. But my crusade is to get people to play with as little comp as possible. None, in fact. Learn the game as pure as possible. And before you get railroaded into some kind of a comp system, and understand how the game is played, and then learn and decide for yourself with an educated decision on whether or not you want to comp something. Because I think a lot of people that I've talked to that are new to the game, they seem to find their way into some comp niche, and then they don't know anything else. They haven't discovered anything else. They're coming from other game systems or even from 8th edition, and it's all about the balance. And that's not really what Age of Sigmar needs to be about. It's not what it's built for. It can be, but we'll get into that. But I would love to hear you give a response to that. So and maybe we'll do a video about that. Maybe we'll have another hangout and discuss that.
Absolutely.
I want to ask you some advice, and I'd love to get some advice from the audience as well. This is my 199th video. I got 200 coming up, and I've got a lot of videos that I'm ready to cut for games and topics. But 200 doesn't come around in a lot. It comes around only once, and it's going to be a while before I get to 300. I know that these are just silly milestones, but I think I'd like to know if anybody in the audience, yourself included, Tom, has an idea on what my 200th show should be. So,
I mean, I have an immediate idea. It needs to be some type of hangout where you grab 4 or 5 or 10 significant personalities. And either you do something like fun, goofy war game style, or you do like a round table, some type of some type of something that maybe talks about the past, present, and future. Those are very common kind of milestone type shows.
Yeah, that might be a heavy lift, just trying to get a bunch of people on at the same time.
It's always
but
a heavy lift.
it might be good if I could line them up where I can get one person on at a time, like I think you guys had done at one point. That might be a good idea, just because everybody gets a chance to sit. Nobody's sitting there for an hour and a half waiting for like 2 minutes of conversation time. People can then pop in and out, and hey, I might do that. Oh, that's a good idea. Well, anyway, if anybody who's out there, if you have other ideas, I think that we might already have a winner here. But beyond that, I'd love to hear some feedback on that. And of course, again, what are we here for today? This is the Unlocking Age of Sigmar, the latest one. There's a whole bunch of them. So if you're new to the channel, go look at my my list of videos. I've done several dozen of them. I've covered, I think, almost every army in terms of the base war scrolls. But now before I finish that, I'm taking the opportunity to go back and get some people on board, like Tom, who's done it before with me, as well as some new people, and talk about special characters. And special characters are a whole new thing. There used to be a real taboo, I think, in previous editions of Warhammer, mainly because a lot of people were looking at Warhammer in the tournament aspect, because whether things were overbalanced, overpriced, overpowered, whatever the story is, a lot of times people would just comp out characters. Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this, Tom, on several shows. I love special characters. I always have. I've never liked the idea that they were eliminated or pushed out or suppressed, although I understood the rationale and the reasons for that. Age of Sigmar doesn't need to do that. So I have two topics on this before we get into the unlocking. What's your thought and take on that for initially? The idea of special characters being much more of a, do you agree with that? Do you like the idea of special characters being ever present in Age of Sigmar, or do you think that maybe they need to be comped out? How do you feel about that whole thing?
I think I love special characters, honestly. So I really think that they need to be first of all, I've loved them in 8th edition, so I'm a little bit biased. But more than that, I love them in the new edition. Like in Age of Sigmar, I think that they have a home, and actually I think that there are key abilities that sit on them that often are needed for certain factions to work.
I agree.
And so I think that what we are seeing in Age of Sigmar as we advance forward, so the new Chaos book released, okay? And one thing that you'll notice from the new Chaos book is that Slaaneash's champion, Sigvald, does not show up in the new Chaos tome, the big, thick Chaos tome. Mm-hmm. But there isn't like an exalted champion of Slaaneash or whatever when you on the War Scrolls.
Yeah, they did something like this with the Seraphon, where some of the named characters were kind of suppressed in their tome.
Yes, they are.
The War Scrolls exist; they're still out there, but the actual tome, yeah,
they're genericized, and so these named characters are turned into generic models. And I think GW's done that very intentionally, because they recognize that there's this stigma attached to named characters. And like people feel like there can only be one of them. And I think GW is moving to a place where they want people to feel these, or even multiples of these, but people feel weird about doing that.
Well, there is sometimes a debate on forums where people feel like that needs to be comped, because it's not actually said in the rules, which I think is ludicrous. I think if it's a named character, it should be evident that there's only one of that person of that name. You're not cloning that person. You're not going to have, one Nagash is enough of a problem. You're not going to have 4 of them. All right. Certainly. You're not going to have 4 Archaons, and I'm sure. But you can, based on the way people traditionally play, you could have 6. Keepers of Secrets. Is it Keepers of Secrets or Keeper of Secrets?
It's Keeper of Secrets.
Okay, you could have 6 of those.
But it would go to Keepers of Secrets if there's multiples.
Okay, we'll get into the grammar version of this later.
But what I would say though, but the counter to that is this: in Dark Elves, you can have Marathi. Marathi is a sorceress on a Pegasus. Okay, neat thing. If you want a Supreme Sorceress on a Pegasus, which you could do in prior editions, in the back it says use Marathi.
Exactly. Same thing with the Dwarves with the Anvil of Doom.
Yep.
I want to use an Anvil of Doom. I don't, but do I have? I don't. It says use use this.
Use Thoric. Yeah,
exactly.
And so the question is can I field 5 of these sorceresses on Pegasi? Honestly, like if I could do 5 normal sorceresses, why can't I do 5 on Pegasi?
I don't think that there's a problem with it. I think when you get to the super powered named characters like Archaon and Nagash, and I think we're going to see more of those. The massive, unbelievably powerful centerpiece models. That's when it becomes a problem.
Absolutely.
When you see the Mortarks of Nagash, they're named, they're specific. There's only a certain number of them. If you want to field all the Mortarks, that's fine, but you shouldn't have 12 of them if you can afford that.
Right.
Those are the situations I think that are exceptions, but I agree with you. For the named characters themselves, make your own name.
Right, exactly. And I think that, so what I would say is that I think that in some circumstances, I think it lends itself to having multiples. And I'm totally on board with that, like I said. And so I think that GW is in general moving towards generics with maybe 1 or 2 like actually truly named characters per faction.
Yeah,
like,
I want to throw out a name here of one of the viewers, local guy who I'm looking forward to meeting up with for a game, Martin Orlando. He and I had a conversation fairly recently on Facebook, and he had told me that we had a conversation exactly about this. And he feels that GW is intentionally diluting the game of special characters, but he didn't really go into the rationale of why. But he was highlighting the details of that, and he gave me all these examples. And you say that there's a deliberate sense, and I think that you've given a really good example of why, so that there's more flexibility to field these war scrolls without the stigma. So that's something that I can appreciate, though.
But not only that, like, so that's on one half of it. And the other reason why I say it's deliberate is something that I'm actually going to mention in Warhammer Weekly. So you guys are getting a glimpse into the show tomorrow.
Oh no, Vince is going to kill us.
Yeah, exactly. You guys are getting an exclusive. That's what Vince gets for not having the show tonight.
Scooped him.
Yeah, scooped him. No, so so in the new Chaos Tome, one of the war scrolls for the or not the new Chaos Tome, the Realm Gate, the new Realm Gate book. Okay, that's dropping this week. One of the like battalion war scrolls dropped, and it was Gorglug's like bodyguard or whatever, and it was 3 sets of Blight Kings and a Plague Lord, and it says a Plague Lord or Lord of Plagues parentheses Gorglug or whatever his name is, and so it looks like this is how they're going to do named characters now, which is awesome. What that means is that if you want to play this named character, it is some example of something that's out there. So it's an example that Marathi is an example of a Supreme Sorceress on a Pegasus. But when you field her in this manner with this battalion, she gains these other abilities that makes her a unique character.
I like it too. I love the mechanic.
That's genius.
I love it.
Yeah.
There's so many things I like about what Age of Sigmar is doing. I also got a little bit of a picture into what might be coming, which you might be interested in. Martin Orlando again. Martin, you're one of my what is it that they say on Game of Thrones that the spider has? He has his God, I forget. He has the little people that not the little people, but the people that give him all his little bits of information from all around the kingdom.
Yeah, I don't remember, but
I don't know. I can't remember, and I'm a giant.
Is it sparrows?
It's something like, I don't know. I'm killing myself that I can't remember.
Not crows, clearly.
No, it's definitely not crows. And I feel stupid because I'm a big GOT geek. But in any case, I'm just having a brain cramp right now. I'm going to add him to among those now because he gave me a nice little tidbit. He gets the audio book, which I believe drops early. And he gave me a little bit of information about what could be the foreshadowing for some stuff coming up with the Everqueen.
Ooh.
So here's some information that you'll appreciate specifically because I know that you're an elf fan.
Go on.
So what he tells me is that the Everqueen somehow, and this is, by the way, just be prepared to laugh first of all.
Sure.
This is the precursor to apparently another big kit.
Okay.
So let me just throw that little nugget out there. Apparently in this, she turns into a softball-sized seed, and apparently is going to, they're going to be basically planting her, and she's going to grow, and there'll be some connection to her and the Sylvaneth.
Okay, interesting. She's going to germinate. Okay, I'm down. I'm down.
She's going to germinate. What that means, I don't know. I'm thrilled because I play Sylvan F.
Who's going to water that seed? That's what I want to know. Is it Tyrion?
I don't know, but we'll have to see. I'd love to get more information, but I'm sure that within the next several days, as more people read this stuff, as more stuff is thrown out there, the fluff is the kind of thing that kind of foreshadows a lot of these models that come out. Even before we see some of the pictures of the actual model, sometimes the hints are in the fluff. And this is something that apparently is coming up. So we could have a giant tree Everqueen.
It would be terrible. I would hate that, actually. But that said, just because I liked her as an elf, like she was a very, very I liked what was going on with her as an elf, and as her not an elf, that makes me sad. I don't like her as a woody tree nymph. Like, nope, out. I want her as a high elf queen. Anyway. But
the new artwork for her looks like Galadriel when she turned like the Faw evil Galadriel in Lord of the Rings that didn't appear in the books, but it looks very much like that. So you never know. There could be a multi-model thing for different aspects of her too.
We'll see. That's what I'll say. We'll see.
Well, as soon as you know, I'm sure that'll be part of the next show that you do.
It absolutely will.
Enthusiastic you are, especially about high elves. Interesting. So we'll have to see if anybody gets any more information about that. Shoot it over to us. We'll certainly be talking about it. So beyond that, I think you also hit upon the second part, which was what's the game plan for GW, and I think that it looks like they have a specific game plan. They're not just looking to get rid of the special characters. There's going to be choice ones that are good, rare, and
expensive.
Of course, but they're going to be incredibly powerful. We're going to see a lot more of those centerpiece characters. But the mechanic of tying battalions to special characters and having special rules and abilities for them, I think it's showing that Age of Sigmar, the idea of special characters permeates through the experience of Age of Sigmar, and it shouldn't be comped out or nobody should feel dirty about playing with them. They're part of the environment. They're part of the gameplay, and they should. And one thing I always try to say, they're all vulnerable. They're all killable. It's easy to do. It's not as hard as people think. Maybe it takes a few extra dice, but you throw enough dice, they're all going to die.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the case. Like, there are some exceptions to that. There are some that are super beefy. Like, Nagash, his defenses, like, I know that people beat this drum, but his ward save and all the stuff that's going on there, it's really strong. What I'll say.
He died to a cloud of skinks.
Well,
I'm just saying, I played him a couple of times, and a cloud of skinks dropped him in one turn. You throw enough dice, you're going to fail. It's just the way it is.
It's true. It's true.
I think he starts at a 4-up, 4-up, Mystic Shield and Terrain. And let's not even talk about multiple Mystic Shields.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother ballgame. I personally like the idea of not stacking those, but there's nothing that says you can. But he was at a 2-up, and there were enough fails that you look at 16 wounds, but when you have that many that much shooting, and then some of those things are going to be mortal wounds that you shoot at him, he's going down. I'm doing a one of the stores in either I think March or April. I'm doing a mega battle where I'm going to have my entire collection of undead against all comers with the limitation of what each person can bring, with Nagash and undead, and
that'll be fantastic. I would love to do something like that. That'd be fun.
You should. And I'm telling you right now, if he lasts, there are going to be point structures on how people, they do on the table with objectives and stuff. And one of the things is obviously killing Nagash. I'm telling you, he's not going to survive past turn 2 at least. If he survives past turn 1, I'll be shocked. But every turn that goes, obviously the points will diminish. So I want to see how far he lasts.
It just takes another death player sitting on a Dreadstone Blight with a battery of Tomb Priests, and I can tell you right now he wouldn't last past turn 1 probably. If that's the case.
One guy's going to bring like as many cannons as he can fit into the max, so that could be it right. That could be it alone. That could be it by itself. Come on,
it's true.
It can be done. That's the thing.
Right.
All right, let's get into this.
Okay. So we need to actually mark this in the comments. By the way, for those that want to watch the actual review, start at minute marker X. Continue.
That's a good point. We're about at least 30 minutes in, so 35-minute mark. I will tag it because I'm sure we've gone from double digits in viewers down to low single digits over the course of this. I'm sure because of that fact. All right, so let me go ahead and pull up and share my screen. And we're going to go start with the Chaos Dwarves, because why? There's only one guy that's the main character of the Chaos Dwarves. Yeah. So,
and I will say that just pulling on some Chaos Dwarf lore, it was the Chaos Dwarves and the lore that created the Black Orcs. So we have warrant to do both the Black Orcs and the Chaos Dwarves in a single show.
Great. It's not just trying to fit this into one show to maximize. It's not a logistical thing. There is a fluff thing to it.
There is a thread that goes through there. It's very thin. Very thin, but there is a thread.
All right. Let me know if you see this.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's get to him. The first one, and there he is. I'm going to go zoom in a little.
The only character. Yes.
All right. So let's go, and I've got to try to find a way to lock on to that. How do we do that again? Let's see. I think that's the way it is. I think that's not switching now if we talk. So it'll stay on that and not just you or me. There you go. Perfect. Yes, I've done this before. I've had 199 of these friggin' episodes, and I'm still trying to figure out how to lock the screen. All right. All right, so let's get to it. This is now first of all, I got to tell you, I'm not a Chaos Dwarf player. You are. And I really, really, and this is what I said when we did the unlocking of the basic war scrolls, the non-special characters. I love that these guys, that they weren't alienated. They were allowed in. They were legitimized. But being not kind of okay. So there definitely was some stuff that was left behind, but I don't know how to pronounce this guy's damn name.
Drazhoath or Drazhoath, the Ashen. Now, what I'll say is, and the reason why I qualified that and said maybe or kind of, is because they didn't get the Duerden keyword.
Ah, yeah, there you go.
And so like these aren't dwarves. I don't care what you say. They're not dwarves.
They're Chaos Dwarves.
No.
What's their keyword then? What are they called?
Zargorath. Yeah.
Okay.
Which I don't even know what that is.
Oh well, then we need a viewer to go and let us know if there's anything in the fluff.
I would have expected like the Dawizar or something like that, which is the dwarven name for these guys. But interestingly, the Zar Grim. So some of their like the words in the priest stuff shows up in the Fire Slayers. If you flip through the Fire Slayer, bro, it seems very clear that they connect up with the Chaos Dwarves,
which bugs me a little bit, I gotta say, because I've heard that, I've seen people reference that. The idea of the Fire Slayers being connected to the actual Duarden is really what I was looking forward to. It bums me out that that's the case, but we can speculate, I guess, until until one of us reads a little bit more of the fluff or hears more about it, why that is. Maybe there's a meshing.
They don't explain it. It's a mystery. I flipped through the book.
Oh, we will be finding out. There will be a tome. Yeah. There'll be a dwarf tome.
Maybe. I suspect what we've seen or what has happened is that like a remnant of the Chaos Dwarves have merged with some or lost their way from Hashut, basically. And have become this own, because like I don't know that Hashut actually gets a mention in any of this stuff. Like this is Flames of Asgore, which like is not Hashut. But
by another name, who knows?
Yeah, maybe.
We're gonna find out. There's gonna be releases that deal with the specific planes, the plane of fire. Yep. I'm sure we'll find out more about these guys because they're definitely fire connected. There's more to come. But let's talk about Drazhoath, the Ashen. So you know this guy a lot better than I do. Why don't you tell me who he is, what he can do, and how you would use him?
So he was the stereotypical like senior prophet guy, okay, of like the named big bad of the Temerkin book, and he rides a big burning Baal Taurus, and it had a like from mechanically in 8th edition, it had an ability very similar to the Kadai Destroyer of like burning people nearby and stuff like that, and a lot of that ends up getting reflected in the actual abilities. So like I will say this from a flavor standpoint, like flavor being reflected in the mechanics, I think they carried this forward fairly well. Like I was just very impressed for what he is. That said, as I expressed initially in your last review of the Chaos Dwarves, I was just overall kind of disappointed with all of the Chaos Dwarves, and I think Drazoith I include in that he's just not real scary. He's neat. He has some neat abilities. As I mentioned, I think maybe even in that video, this is the first time that we've seen somebody that has abilities augmented on the War Scroll, or one of the first times on the War Scroll based on a realm. Like whatever plane you're playing in actually affects his abilities, which is kind of a big deal. I think that was maybe on one of the Death War Scrolls. There was also something similar. But again, that's not a common ability.
I would like to have seen it be more common. We might see more of that as new things get released. But yeah, this is the first one that we saw.
He's rocking in at, like, I would say that from a like kind of a he has this very weird feeling, okay, because he has a lot of mixed abilities. He kind of has some range attacks, but they're really kind of mediocre. He has some nice beater abilities. He has a -2 rend on the big charge from the Bale Taurus or the Great Taurus. So he kind of has some melee abilities. Again, he's swinging at 3 damage and 3 damage, so that's not bad. And then drop it down to a D3 and then 1s. And so, I mean, like, he has the ability to put some hurt out in melee. But he's a caster, and he has a 4-up. He has some decent defenses, but he's not really good in, like, he doesn't have anything that really makes him shine in melee. Let me say that. Like, overwhelmingly shine.
It looks like he does a little bit of everything.
Yes.
Mediocre. Yep. Nothing outrageously scary in any one area.
Yeah, so I would end up playing him in the midfield probably, where his range attacks and his dispelling and all that, because he's the only thing in your army that's going to unbind 2 spells. So I would play in midfield where a lot of that is going to actually work. And then it forces their casters to move into midfield if they want to pick them off. And then that lets his gout attacks be useful and stuff like that. And then he can jump in as a damage add-on in a melee to push on one line to crumple an enemy line or whatever. Because he has some very solid attacks, and there's no question about that. Especially on the charge, like his horns and teeth get failed, like reroll failed wound rolls on the charge. So yeah, I would use him as kind of a damage add. He's not going to be tanking anything. He can take some hits, but he has some decent movement, and so that's one of the neat things about him is he has some of the best movement in your army at a 15 fly. And it's sad, but I like him a lot better than, for example, the Kadai Destroyer stand-in, which is just a.
That's very depressing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I mean, he's really kind of the meatiest of the options for Chaos Dwarves. That said, running a bunch of him isn't going to happen, and it's funny because basically what ends up happening is most of his abilities, like of his attacks, 3 of them, the Gouts of Flame, Brazen Horns, and Burning Hooves, all of those are just coming from the Great Taurus. And if you go look at the Great Taurus, which is in the Warriors of Chaos bundle, which for some reason I have no idea why, it makes no sense in that. But that's where the Chaos Taurus is, because GW doesn't make models for it. Anyways, so that's where the Chaos Taurus is, and it's identical. It's literally as if they took the Chaos Taurus and they added 5 wounds to it, and then you got this named character.
We mentioned this, I think, when we went through this as well as some other War Scrolls. Yeah. Not in all cases. I think they did a good job in a lot of these things, and almost all of them. There's a few that may have seemed a little bit rushed, or like they did not do as good of a job fleshing it out, maybe checking it and trying to make it look as interesting and fun and desirable as others. This one, I think they may have just dialed it in a little bit. The army in general.
Totally agree. Because there are just some really neat things they could have done. The fact that like a lot of things like the Lamassu and stuff like that disappeared from Chaos Dwarves, it would have been neat for them to, and still showed up in the Warriors of Chaos warscrolls, which is just unconscionable.
What's good about this guy? What do you like about this guy? What is scary about him? How would you use him?
The thing that stands out to me for me would be his solid charge round. He's going to have a good charge round going in. He's going to get a couple roll so he would open with whoever he's charging with 6 range attacks, and if he really hasn't been wounded seriously, he's going to open with 10 melee attacks on a charge. And again, if he hasn't been damaged, 4 of those 10 are going to do 3 damage each. And so he's going to come crashing, high mobility with fly. He's going to come crashing into the flank or the rear of an enemy. That's what's going to happen with this guy. The other big thing is that he's throwing around 2 dispel. I mean, he's throwing around 2 casts, which are going to be good, but he's also throwing around 2 dispels. So I think that he's going to be able to, and with his ward save, his mini ward save, which is like a reflective damage. It's a very typical Hell Shard, where on a 5-up, it'll block, it'll ward save. Only against mortal wounds, by the way. And on the 6-up, it reflects the mortal wound back to the attacker.
Yeah, I think that's pretty damn good, actually.
No, it is good. It is good, but it's not reliable. Like, statistically, you're talking 15, 16%. Like, sure. It's not going to carry the... It's not gonna carry him into any battle, but it'll keep him. And that's why I said I would put him in the midfield. You don't want him being engaged in melee, but he's a great damage add into a fight. If they want to turn and attack him instead of the main unit that crashed into the front, I'm okay with that. Does that make sense? It's
a deterrent. I agree. It's not the thing that that's gonna break your assault on him. But if you all things being equal or whatever, it'd probably be there's other more attractive things to target rather than take a chance of taking a mortal wound inflicted back at you. I see him, shooting 16 with 6 attacks, not bad. No rend, 1 damage. It's okay.
4 up, 4 up. Those are archers. Those are Empire archers.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's I think the flames of Asgore are great. It's got a nice range on that. It's 18 inches. Casting value of 8. He gets a +1 to do it, which is still midway.
If he's in the realm of fire.
Yeah, if he's in the realm of fire. But that's a great ability if he's in the realm of fire. If not, it's even so, he still can use the flames. He's just getting the extra +1. So it's a nice bonus for whatever theme games you're playing or whatever narrative scenario or so whatnot. Nothing about him scares me too much, but he definitely has some stuff that are going to give you pause. It would have been great if you could take more, that if it wasn't just this one unique guy, but if there was like a group of these guys, the prophets, 3 or 4 of them, and you could have more than one of this dude on the table, which you could, but the fact is, in my opinion, he's named. And unless there's a generic version of him, there should be only one. It's the Highlander rule, in my opinion. Yeah.
I agree. I will say this.
Give me your final thoughts, and then we'll move on to the Orcs and Goblins. Yeah.
His blazing body is it's a deterrent. And what I mean by that is, like, it's a liability. Because it can hurt your own units.
Yep. Unless you're a Great Taurus.
Yeah, which you're not fielding Great Tauruses. I'm gonna heads up. They're not. I mean, let me say this: they are an 8 wound monster that doesn't have a wound chart. Okay, like a damage decrease effectiveness chart. So, like, that's a nice monster, but normally, like, it's just not that fantastic. And so, what I would say is that that whole Great Taurus thing is just going to be a liability for your army because it's not that frequent that it's going to put wounds on the enemy. And you're not going to notice it generally when, like, you cause 1 wound to, like, an ogre army or whatever. Yeah. But let me tell you, you are going to notice it every time you put 1 wound on a mortal wound on one of your Chaos Dwarves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're going to be removing them.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move over to Orcs and Goblins.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty, we're going to go to here we go. There we go. You see that?
Yep.
All right. So Orcs and Goblins, there's quite a few. I think we got about 9 special characters here. And I know when you did the unlocking with me, specifically talking about Orcs and Goblins and how they are compartmentalized, where there's themes, several theme armies within the overall Orcs and Goblins array of war scrolls. So this is very much carrying over when it comes to the special characters as well. So let's start with them one at a time, and we'll go through them. And tell me, let's go through. Go ahead.
That's one of the things that's so amazing about the Orc and Goblin characters is they are actually often breaking this rule. Like that's one of the neat things about the Orc and Goblin characters, and I'll get into that. Is that that compartmentalization, they begin to kind of break down some of that. They don't do it completely, but they begin to. So Gorbad, he is what I would consider like the prototypical like Orc war boss. Like he is doing everything that I want to see an Orc war boss doing. I want to see him be super tough, be great on a charge, a 9-inch move. I want to see him get in there and chop stuff in half. And guess what? He's going to be doing that with his Morglor the Mangler. It's 5 attacks, 3 up, 3 up, with -2 Ren D3 damage.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, like that is doing everything I want this character to be doing. Yeah. He's mounted, great. His mount's going to get a couple attacks, cool, whatever. I don't care about that. He is chopping things in half, and that's what this guy should be doing. So greenskins, which is the small, narrow, like the orcs that are not savage orcs. And I don't think they're black orcs either. I can double check on that. But I know it's just base orcs. And yeah, it is not black orcs either. So just like boys, like orc boys, orc archer boys,
okay.
Boar boys. So they're the ones that are getting the +1 or re-rolling wound rolls of 1 within 6 inches of him.
Not a very far distance. You'll probably get 2 units on either side of them. Or,
right.
Yeah.
It'll probably be the Tusk, like the other Boar boys that are running with him. Those are who are probably going to get this with a similar style movement. And then his command ability is, Bravery 2 is nice, I guess. I don't know. I'm mixed on that, and then re-rolling wound rolls of 1 on these units. Again, this is narrow. This is greenskins. If they're within 16 inches of him, it's okay. Re-rolling 1s. I'm not going to take this. Like I'm not taking him for this. Does that make sense? Like I don't.
But if you were to take a greenskins themed army, or at least the majority of your army that you're playing were greenskins. Let's list off some of the models. So we're talking about your boys. So it's going to be Boar boys, the archers, the arrow boys.
Yep.
What are the ground pounders? What's the regular infantry guys? What kind of boys are those?
The ground pounders. What do you mean?
Like the regular infantry boys.
Those are just orc boys.
Orc boys. Okay, so we're talking about a boys army.
Yep.
All right. So greenskins boys.
I'm gonna take a orc war boss.
You prefer?
Absolutely.
Well, but why would you take one of each? I mean, would you prefer your general be?
Well, because your general is the only one that's using command abilities.
Right.
And like, so I may take both. Like, I may take him as to run with a pack of boar boys.
Right.
Out on a flank, but he's not my general. This command ability is doing nothing for me. Like,
okay.
It's not bad, but like again, I would take a war boss who's going to buff and give all of my orcs within 12 inches, which are, by the way, all my orcs, which are not just greenskins. Like that, that's the broader. The orc war boss is actually reaching into savage orcs. The orc war boss is reaching into black orcs. All those guys. He's going to buff everybody within 12 inches of him and give him 1 extra attack with all their melee weapons.
Okay, so if you take Gorbad, you're taking him to buff a specific set of units in your army, not as your general. That's the advice. Okay.
Yeah, and he's a striker. You're going to throw him deep into a flank to take out a key target. He's a higher than normal mobility. He's going to charge something and blow that thing up. That's his job.
Surround him with boar boys and get him into the fun.
Yep.
All right, great. Great. Good synopsis there. Okay, then this is one of the few flyers in the in the Orcs and Goblins army, which is kind of saddening. But here he is. This is the big kahuna, Azog the Slaughterer.
Yep.
All right, tell us about Azog.
So I love this dude. Obviously, like, he's sporting all the fun stuff, like the agonizing venom and stuff like that of the normal orc war boss and wyvern. He's sporting a couple extra wounds. And he's a caster because he's still wearing the crown of sorcery, like the stupid wizard hat. And so he's a wizard. Like, he's a necromancer wizard. So he's running around with life drain.
Awesome.
And I just love him. I love everything that he's doing. He's beaten face. Like, you see, we were talking about like, we were just talking about when I think about the guy that we were just talking about, the Asgroth. Like, Asgroth and this guy are swimming in the same space. Okay? They're a caster. They're about the same wounds. Literally almost the same, like, very similar mobilities. They're flying. They have great charges. I mean, like, so he's actually going to come swinging in with 14 melee attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And that tail is going to go 4 up, 2 up, -1 rend, 3 damage. And it's going to be venomous. So on a 4, they're going to suffer a mortal wound, like an additional mortal wound afterwards. Like on the round after, basically. Or at the end of the turn, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, like, I like everything that he's doing. He re-rolls all failed hit rolls with his 6, like, 3 up attacks. And on top of all of that, and he's a caster. Obviously, he's casting 1 less spell. His life drain is going to fire off a lot more easily. And he's going to and his but the other thing is that he's going to get a command ability that's going to actually affect all Orcs, which is both the which is going to be both the within 18 inches, or it's going to be like, it could be any unit. I'm sorry, within 18 inches, and they can add 1 to the hit and run and charge rolls. And so it's his command ability is going to be a lot more strategic, but it's going to be broader effect across all of the options.
Yeah, he definitely this is your centerpiece model for the army, or one of the big models of the army.
Definitely.
Yeah. And he can do it. He can move. The only thing he can't do is he doesn't have any shooting attacks, but he's at least got the magical ability, that life drain ability.
Yeah, like I said, I see him playing midfield and crashing in to support some other big block of troops.
Yeah, don't run him forward by himself, and then you want to save this guy for the right moment. Have him survive, even if it takes a few wounds. You don't want to send him in without support, like most heroes. You don't want to do that, even the big heroes. All right, let's move on to. Let's see, who's our next named guy. Now, I think we should probably talk about, is Ruglud a specific character? I know we got the Armored Orcs, this is kind of like a unit that you take.
It is. It's a weird, so this is a holdover from like the Regiments of Renown that somehow found its way into the 8th edition Orc book, and then somehow found its way again into the Age of Sigmar scrolls. And so, like, Ruglud is the named captain of this group of basically black orcs. They're heavily armored foot orcs that also have crossbows.
Yeah, when I was on the Andy and Remy show, Remington has a unit of these that he painted up, and they look great, by the way. They look just good. But this was the original models. A little bit different feel and look to some more of the more recent releases of the orcs, but still a very character-filled sculpt for this unit. So tell us about Ruglud and his armored orcs. Oh, did we lose you?
No, I have a little boy that woke up in the middle of the night.
Oh,
no, it's okay. So Ruglud, again, like this unit is just dripping with character. I don't know that I would ever use any orc boys over these guys. Just because, like, these guys are just so good. Ruglud, obviously, like, he truly becomes a character in his own right. He's sitting at a 3 wounds, 2 attacks. It's interesting because this is kind of what inspired us, by the way, looking at him to do for Mordheim when we designed Mordheim.
Really?
Like how the mechanics of this work, how like each captain became a character.
Right. So for our viewers, Tom and Vince, if you're not already aware of this, and these guys are game designers too, went out of their way, and we've all heard recently, I'm sure that Mordheim could be making a return, but these guys went and spent the time, and are still. I imagine you're still spending a little bit of time here and there. I don't know if you believe the wind has been let out of your sails, knowing that there's actually another Mordheim coming. But they've converted Mordheim with Age of Sigmar rules. Something to look at. Definitely check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah, and so how this functions is kind of what inspired us to do like the captain rule stuff within Mordheim. And so Ruglud, and again, like it's a lot of his stuff is operating like standard units. Only the key is that he's getting his guys, in addition to being okay at melee, they're not fantastic, but they're not terrible, are also run around with crossbows and shooting crossbows, getting 2 shots if they don't have enemies within 3 inches and they're not moving. And they're a 4-up save. So these are like, they're better than all your bow shooters. I don't know, in my opinion. Obviously, like they don't have the range of the standard arrow boys. But they definitely have a lot more staying power, is what I would say.
Yep. Minimum of 10 in the unit too. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's just compelling. I like everything that's going on here. It's very flavorful. It's very distinct. There's nothing generic about what this is.
All right, let's go down. Grimgor.
Grimgor. I love this dude. He, he is just headbutting his way into immortality. This guy is, I love how he's competing with his fellow heroes. And what I mean by that is like, if he's within 10 inches of any other orc hero, he gets better because he has to be the best. And so like, I love that, like he's actually what made me, like, I picked up an eBay lot not too long ago, some black orcs, and he's what made me want to keep this big lot of like 25 black orcs, because like I want to have him into immortals. Like that's what I want to see. I want them running around my battlefield, and so I kept a bunch of them, and I'm going to pick up a Grimgor hopefully at some point. Nice. He's just a wonderful model. So that said, he, like I said, he does real well with black orcs, and if he sets up near a black orc unit, he makes them to immortals, and so they reroll 1s with their attacks, which is just fantastic. And again, his command ability, and this is one thing we've seen already, that he buffs orc units. So models within 10 inches of him, when they attack in the combat phase, they add +1 to hit. And those are Orc models. So those are or
everybody. Yeah.
That's everybody. That's your black orcs, that's your savage orcs, that's your standard greenskins. And that's not, like, again, when you have abilities that reach broader, and he's AoE buffing. So he is a force multiplier. Anybody around him is going to stomp some face. And guess what? He's going to stomp some face, because he's swinging around 4 attacks that are 3-up, 3-up, -2 rend that do 2 damage each. He's not as hard hitting as Gorbad, who is going to be again, Gorbad is still functioning very strategically on a flank with his boar boys, but I see Grimgor right in the middle of the ship. Like, you want him right in the middle, surrounded by all of his black orc posse, and just chewing through enemies.
Yeah,
that because what he's going to do is anybody within 10 inches of him, he's going to buff, and it's going to be beautiful. I mean, like, he's exactly what you want in the middle of that mob, is what I would say.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to Wurzag, the Great Green Prophet.
Yeah, I love again, man, the flavor on these characters is just off the wall. And again, Wurzag is another example where, like, all of his abilities are pounding on all cylinders narratively. Like, every single one of his abilities, I read it and it just makes sense.
And then I think it's a throwback to the fact that this is a long-standing army for Warhammer, and one of the core signature armies for Warhammer. And there's a lot of history with these characters, but they also harken back to when the tongue-in-cheek humor and feel of the game and these characters wasn't I'm not total. I'm sold on Age of Sigmar, but there are some things that kind of bug me, like some of the rules that you have to do silly shit. This is a character without having to do some silly song and dance. There's this character speaks to the person playing it as well as the person on the other side of the board, just by the way it's written.
Yeah. I mean, he's a great, like, he is a savage orc. He has his war paint. He's doing his thing. But he is known for his little, like, turning enemies into squiggly beasts. Like, that's a thing. That's a thing that he does. And he does it well. That's the reality. And so he carries around a little squiggly beast with him that gives him bonuses on casting and unbinding. And guess what? If you're a caster, you better watch out because he's going to do it to you too. And I love it. I love his spell. Like, even on a terrible, he's causing a mortal wound on a 1. But most of the time he's doing a D3. Sometimes he's doing a D6. And if he puts you down, he's going to make another cave squig. I love it. I just love everything about it.
Yeah. Can you imagine him doing that to Nagash?
Oh, it would be so epic. So epic. Yeah, I would paint a new squig if I ever turned Nagash into a squig. Like that, I would paint a new black, sharp highlight, sharply white highlighted squig.
Yeah,
This
has got to be one of those things I'm going to have to reference when I do the boogeyman mechanics and abilities. There are little hidden abilities that totally screw monsters, that target wizards, that target certain things, and it makes those crazy, outrageous things very killable and removable from the game. And this is one where it's like, hey, look at all the big, bad, unbelievably powerful characters, or even like it could be an archmage on a dragon. Guess what? It can turn into a cave swing.
Yep, it's beautiful. The only thing that I was disappointed with Wurzag is that he only gets 1 unbind instead of 2.
Oh, you think he should have been tougher, huh?
Well, like, he gets 2 attack spells. He gets 2 casts, but he only gets 1 unbind. And it was a curious decision on their part, and they may have wanted to represent the fact that, like, he's good at, like, offensive juju, but defensive is bad or something. I don't know. It was just a very curious decision on their part, is what I would say.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Grom the Paunch.
Yep. Grom. I love me some Grom. Like,
you love all of them. You love all of them. You're really enthusiastic about these guys.
Do. I wish, I was actually thinking about making a Grom proxy for my Forest Goblins on, like, a big spider, that white spider that was on my sill.
Wait a second. With all the models you have, with how many points equivalent to 8th edition total? How many points?
64,000 or so.
Okay. Yeah. You have the equivalent of 8th edition 64,000 points in models.
Yep.
And you don't have Grom the Paunch.
Nope.
Nope. Well, get on that.
No, because, like, here's the deal. I don't have normal goblins. You got to remember that. Like, I have a ton of Forest Goblins. I have a Night Goblin force. But normal goblins, just generic goblins, never attracted me. And Grom that's where he fits. Yeah. Like, I don't like the wolves. I don't like the whole wolf aesthetic thing. Like, it's okay for what it is, but that's not what I was looking for. I wanted the spider stuff, and so I was going to make.
But if you are into that, how would you use this guy? Tell us about it. Yeah.
So the first thing I would look at is the fact that he has a command ability. So then I would ask the question: is this guy really a commander? Is his ability doing what I need a commander to do? And what he does is that get mob units, which are the generic goblins within 10 inches of him, reroll all failed hit rolls, which is a really strong ability. Okay. But what that does is that puts him in the middle of of a pack of the mob. Okay. This goes back, like, he's going to have to get used like Grimgor in the middle of the meat of everything. Okay. Now he has a 6-up ward save, a 4-up normal save. And he has a chance of healing every hero phase on a 4-up. So he's kind of regenerating, but not really. He's not really defensive. But most goblins aren't. So I mean, he's as defensive as you're generally going to get. He's in a chariot. So what I would say is this: I would put him in the middle of a pack, like in the middle where his 10 inches is going to reach to all of my goblins around. But here's the other catch to that: by doing that, though, you're going to restrict his strongest attribute, which is his 12-inch move. Mm-hmm. And so he is competing against himself where you want him. And so what might end up happening is that he might have to be behind the front lines, like immediately behind the front lines, so that within one round he can get into combat, but he's not the first in. That may be like, so he ends up having to play this weird kind of flanking, buffing role and augment on a side hit. Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next one. Unless we're out. We're not done. No, we can't be.
No. My favorite one's coming.
Okay. Oh, there we go. How could I forget Skarsnik? Of course.
There he is. We did a review of the O&G book, like a best, like winners and losers of O&G on Warhammer Weekly. And man, Skarsnik, like he was the winner in my book. Whoa, is he the winner of the characters? And here's why. So Skarsnik is a goblin. He's running around with a big old gobla. So he's very night goblin-y. He's doing everything that night goblins should be doing. Okay. He's 6 wounds, so he's a really tough night goblin. 4-up save. You know, he's doing those types of good things. He has some decent melee abilities, but you're not going to put him into the meat. Like he doesn't. His melee abilities don't demand that he be in the thick of things. Okay. Because where his power comes is in his utility. Okay. Like if he gets in and Gobla is doing some biting and stuff like that, yeah, sure, whatever. You know, Gobla's going to do a little bit of damage. He's probably going to do nothing. But I'm going to want him a little bit farther back, and I want him buffing my people. I love his retreat ability because you can create kind of a cascading, like fleeing thing going on. Especially if you have any like one-off model units or like low model count units that can retreat. It does kind of a neat thing where they leave these little bombs and enemy units can take on a 4-up a D3 mortal wounds.
I love that. I love it. Yeah.
And it's a very flavorful ability and very tactically, like it can just be a very intelligent, if used intelligently, it can be very, very powerful. That said, he has by far the most powerful command ability in this book. And he picks a Moon Clan unit, so it's restricted obviously to his Night Goblins. But really, let me just tell you, let me let you in on a little secret. It's not just restricted to one unit, one Moon Clan unit. It's restricted to one unit at all. You're going to use this command ability on a single unit, and you should never use it on anything else. You're always going to use it on your fanatics. And what it allows them to do is they can pile in twice and attack twice.
Which that's obscene.
And they don't take battle shock tests.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so it does everything that the normal command ability does, and it lets them basically double attack. And for those of you guys that don't know about the fanatics can hide in another unit, and then they just pop out. So a group of 100 fanatics can hide in a unit of 10 night goblins. And then once that happens, they're going to come spinning out. Each night goblin fanatic is going to throw out a d6 attacks. That's going to hit on 4-up, 3-up, -2 rend, d3 damage.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're going to have them pile in twice. They're
still as crazy the fanatics as they were in 8th edition. Yeah.
Yep. Crazier because they're going to do 2d6 attacks when they pile in twice, attack twice. At 4-up, 3-up, and they're going to do -1 rend, -2 rend.
2 rend, yes.
Yeah, d3 damage. They are going to wreck shop. And again, you can have any number of night goblins. Like literally as many as you want to buy. I have collected, by the way, like 12 night goblins. That's where I'm at this point.
12?
12 fanatics at this point.
All right, fanatics. Are they gray?
Yeah. No, some of them are primer black. So, no, what I would say is that, so Night Goblin Fanatics are just fantastic. I take that back. I have 12 plus 3 more that are new in box, so 15. They're beautiful, and they are your punching. They are the bread and butter of your Night Goblins, and Skarsnik is what you want to use them with. It's just, yeah.
I'm just started putting together my dwarves, my iron breakers, and I'm like, God, these guys are so brutal. And I'm thinking, a unit of Night Goblins with fanatics popping out and Skarsnik enhancing them would destroy absolutely. I mean, probably one of the best defensive units in the game, iron breakers, and they would chop those guys to shreds.
Yeah, they would roll right through them. Like they would like 2d6 attacks per model when they're double activating.
Oh God. Crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy good. Good.
Yep. So so Skarsnik is a big winner for me. I'm glad I'm pretty sure we're done with, because there's no named Forest Goblins. I am very, very bitter about that. I'm gonna make some, and they're gonna be a big deal. So
yeah, well, we might see something new with because the rumor has it that Orcs and Goblins are on the docket for the next sometime in the spring.
We'll see. I would love to see my Forest Goblins come out swinging. Let me tell you, when that happens, I'm buying like everything. Everything is going to be on pre-order.
Okay, but my understanding is that you might have some extra resources, since I think, from what I understand, your most recent post, you've bought some of the suggestions that I and several other people had posed to you, which was drop some of the things that are low on your interest that you may never play or play much. So tell us, just so we close this out, you're going to need a war chest. You're going to need to take some of the less used crazy Sea of Gray and sell them and save that for the impending Orcs and Goblins releases. What are you unloading?
Yeah, so I am selling a lot of it's like a true wood elf army. Like, it's basically all that you would need to kind of start the wood elf army. Like just about everything. And it's all new in box, unpainted, no primer on any of it. So it's either new on box, or it's like bits on sprue and baggy, or it's been open but then put in a baggy, kind of sealed. And
then I saw you decided Empire also, huh?
Yeah, like my Nuln warband thing I was doing, I was like, I don't need to be doing this, and I'm gonna end up spending a couple $100 on it, so I'd rather put that money elsewhere. So I have like a 2 packs of Outriders, I have a great cannon, and I have a steam tank up in a lot, and then I have another lot of a bunch of halflings. So,
see, now the halflings I can see somebody grabbing. I know that like Remington from Andy and Remy's show, he has like a halfling army. There are people out there that will collect some of those out of print stuff with the hope that not only something might return, but with the idea that they would want to play, just for the the goof of it, because there's some cool stuff.
And hey, I'll give your viewers the same deal that I gave anybody that's on the Warhammer YouTubers. If you are interested, contact me. I have them up on eBay right now, but I am willing to anybody that is interested, I'll knock the price down 10% and give you free shipping.
Oh, awesome! That's not a bad deal. Well, I'm doing something similar, but I'm not selling anything from Warhammer. I'm deciding that to lose. I have as much shit as you do, but multiple game systems, because I'm also playing bolt action and whatever. So
yeah, I understand.
I might be looking not to get out of bolt action, but to sell one of my major armies that's just sitting in a box, and I just don't know when I'm going to get there. And it's like a full-on German starter kit with all these extra stuff, and even a Messerschmitt, a fighter that I just I'm never going to get to it. I'm just so immersed in all these other games. I got the Marvel mini game that's going to be coming out later that I might be doing some showcasing for King's Models, which I'm really looking forward to. They said, hey, I reached out to them. They said, hey, get in touch with us. Yeah, we'll talk. I'm like, I'd love to get some advanced stuff on that and put it on the table and put it up here. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm hoping. Maybe if they're watching, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. I'd be at every store and show in the area with that. Anyway, so yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Well, I'm kind of gathering up a war chest to go and unload. If there's some really good Steamhead dwarf stuff that releases, I might jump at that, especially if it's a golem construct that we keep hearing about.
Yeah, I mean, I might pick up the golem construct. I'll drop $100 on that kit because I know that's what it's going to cost.
I'm definitely gonna do.
Yeah, like I'll probably do that. Obviously, if it fits with my dwarf army. But again, I have like 8,000 points of dwarves at this point. And that's like the 4th on my list. Like I really don't need more dwarves.
Oh, good. Well, then we should talk because I might be looking to build up some additional stuff.
Yeah. Well, I might have some extra models I'd be willing to liquidate. So
talk to me before you put it on eBay, man. Seriously, there's a couple of holes. I have a small. I have like I think 6 or 8 gyros that I haven't. I've only built one. I've got about 30 miners, and I love having 2 units of miners.
So beautiful, yeah. I
love them, and then I have about 25 rangers with bugmen, so that's my forward group.
Yep.
And the rest right now is not counting characters is Iron Breakers and Iron Drakes.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm building now. But that's what I'm saving for. I don't have any hammerers. Or any warriors. I'm going to pick up the Fire Slayers, but we'll see what comes out first. But you are looking to go in for Orcs and Goblins if they come out. And that's really mostly what we're talking about here. I know you also have Chaos Dwarf army, so it doesn't look like you're giving up your Chaos Dwarves either.
Nope. No, and I don't think they're going to be releasing Chaos Dwarves anytime.
Certainly no rumors coming up, but there are big rumors coming up about Orcs and Goblins. So tell me what you think. What would you not a I wish I could get. But within the line, within the theme of some of the releases that you've seen, if you could prognosticate what you think would happen in line with what has happened already, since I'm sure that what we've seen in the past might be propagated down the road with future releases, what do you think we might see with, if you just give us your best guess, not just your most intense want of what we might see with Orcs and Goblins?
I think that we are going to see 2 major flavors of Orcs and Goblins pop out. I suspect that one of those major flavors is going to be, or let me say it this way. I think that we're going to see Savage Orcs. That's going to be a big thing. So your Savage Orcs, and I think that we'll see their kits expand into what standard Orc and Goblin kits have been. So right now we have Savage Orcs as like the normal melee guys and as archers, by the way. Most people don't know that Savage Orcs come with bows, but they do. We've also seen Savage Orcs in as like the mounted boar boys. Okay, we know they're in that space. Rumor has it in some of the art pieces of the recent books, we have Savage Orcs on wyverns. We don't have a kit that does that. But in the art, it's been showing up in the art of like Savage Orcs and wyverns. So I think we will see that.
A unit of, say, Savage Orcs on wyverns.
We'll get a monster. We'll get a big Savage Orc kit on a wyvern.
Okay, well,
that'll be a big.
More flyers would be fine. I think that would be great for the army, certainly.
Yep, I think that we'll see that. And I think for goblins, I do think that we're going to maintain at least 2 distinctions of goblins. I think that we're going to get. I think generic goblins are going the way of the dodo. I don't think that we'll see more generic goblins at this point. I think that we will see more forest goblins, not because I want the forest goblins, like because I'm partial, but I am. But I think because it distinguishes them, it gives them a different flavor than the standard goblin, like the Lotro goblin or anything like that on like the wargs. Like the spider thing gives them a new flavor. That Arachnarok kit is super popular. Like it it's very desired. I
don't see that going away. I can't.
No, exactly. And so I think that what we'll see is, I think if we see another infantry box, I think we're going to see an infantry box of forest goblins. I think, and then so that's one half of it. And the other thing that I expect is that I expect we will see more night goblins. We'll see a faction of night goblins get expanded and released. And I think that because I look at what night goblins currently have, and their kits are doing the things that you want a kit to do. So in addition to being distinctive, they have like they're all like a very distinctive look with the hoods and the squigs. And like their main kit is just like the Savage Orc, is melee and ranged. So if you're making archers or if you're making melee block, that's all coming out of the same kit. So it lets them narrow their kits down, and then they have a great opportunity in releasing new squig kits, both plastic squigs, squig herds, and also releasing riders. Although I think that we're going to see less like riders as what they were, like 25 mil or small base. I think we'll see more riders as like on the size of like Mangler squigs. Like,
yeah, I was just gonna say. I figured they'd go for bigger, bigger sized, big, more multi-wound, type models.
And I could see us in that space having like a big colossal squig. I mean, obviously Forge World has that, but I could see them doing a big set piece like colossal squig.
All right, let's hope. We're going to probably see something like that. We'll probably. I envision that sometime before the end of February, we'll start seeing some leaked images.
You are ambitious. I was expecting we'll see it in March.
But certainly before the releases. I mean, the rumors of the releases are for the springtime. So April, May, June. Usually it's a good 2 months before we start seeing like a German or Spain a leaked image.
Yeah, I would say that keep watching the images that are showing up on White Dwarf and in the current books, because oftentimes look at the art, because the art has continually in Age of Sigmar reflected what we're seeing next and where we're going.
It's little Easter eggs they throw out there, and now we know what the pattern is.
Yep.
All right. Look, it's getting a little late. We've gone an hour and 40 minutes about now. That's a lot longer than I expected. But
sorry,
hey,
I like to talk.
No. We spent like 40 minutes, shooting the shit before we actually got to the War Scrolls. That's how it turns out. But you know what? A lot of times, I know a lot of the viewers I speak to, a lot of them are like, don't worry about making it too long. I'm painting while I'm listening, and that's exactly what this is about. I mean, if we're not doing model showcases here, we're talking about War Scrolls and doing Age of Sigmar Warhammer theory. So if it's the kind of thing that's your background. Audio while you're doing your hobby. That's how I watch a lot of my content, the content that I view. So I really appreciate it, Tom. Look forward to seeing you on Warhammer Weekly tomorrow with Vince, and as well as more of your videos. Please put out a video about the whole Boogeyman mechanics and abilities. I really want to see what kind of stuff you throw out there,
check it out.
And your take, because you have a really good view on these things, and you come up with some really good ideas, and I'd like to see Vince do it too. So twist his arm to come in. I know he's got he's got a great series, which is Topic of the Week. I'm not looking to steal that thunder, but I definitely want to send that out to the community. The goal is dispel these myths of these abilities being overpowered. Certainly, some of them are powerful, but they're not all so overpowered that they break the game to the point where people need to comp them and change them. There are strategies, there are powers, there are abilities, there are things in there that you can use to manage some of those things, not suppress it and eliminate it as a threat, but to make it more realistic. Make it. You could deal with it on the battlefield with the stuff that's already in the game, as opposed to creating rules to change it. So I want your take. I want to reach out to everybody in the Warhammer YouTubers universe, that all you guys who put out videos, and anybody else who decides that they want to go up and start up a channel, or just throw out put out a video, or even just send a note with some details. Those kinds of things. I'd love to have that, and I'll draw upon it, and I'll link to you guys that do it, and we'll have a dialogue. A respectful, adult, non-crazy, non-hating, non-getting angry and shitting on each other type of dialogue. And with that, again, Tom, thanks for joining me. We'll have you on again, certainly. And to everybody out there, have a great night.
Awesome.